Hello and welcome back to Coding with T. Today we're going to start the section 4 of our e-commerce admin panel series. In this section we are going to see how we're going to perform the authentication for admin, how we're going to register the admin inside our Firebase authentication and also inside our Firestore database. And then we're going to use that authentication to let the admin log in inside the admin panel, and we will restrict only those users who have the admin access, because currently this application is not the multi-vendor, so we are going to only focus on the one single role, which is admin role. But later on, if we move towards the multi-vendor, we have to add different roles, and based on those roles we are going to use the middleware which we learned in the previous tutorial, and we will filter out which screen which user or which role can see. So let's get started with today's video. As you can see, currently this user or the admin who is already logged in can see this dashboard directly, but when I'm going to click on this logout, or you can say this is the first screen that will be appeared in front of users. It does not have any app bar, any sidebar. All the design is in the center, and with this same layout you can see we have a forget password using the same style. And also after this forget password, when we're going to send the email, that screen which is the reset password is also using this same layout. So that's why we're going to create a layout for the login design, and also we're going to create this screen. So it has email, it has password. You can see it can toggle the password. We have a remember me option, then we have a forget password and a sign in button. So let's get started with today's tutorial. As in the previous sections, in the section 1 we have already seen that how we can set up the complete project for Flutter Web, add Firebase, create its folder structure and bunch of other things in the section 1. As you can see, all the videos are completed. Then in section 2 we discussed thoroughly about the routes and navigations for the Flutter Web, and we went through a lot of different concepts. We learned a lot of things that we're going to use inside our application, and these three sections. And in the third section we covered all the responsiveness and created all the widgets that we are going to use to make our design responsive for the desktop, tablet, mobile, and we learned a lot of things. So if you're new, you can watch these previous videos. Link is in the description. Watch this complete playlist. Okay, so let's get started with today's tutorial, and I am inside the project which we created for our admin panel. And previously when we are testing the things, you can see we have a simple class inside directly in the app.dart, and in this dummy class we are using the site template with a desktop, tablet and mobile layout, and it was working very fine. But now onwards, because we are going to actually start our admin panel, and we have all these type of widgets already created for us, so we can use them and to design our professional application. So I'm going to remove this. Now whenever we are going to create a new screen, we will first have to define that inside app routes, because otherwise our design or the app might not be able to find that screen, because in the app.dart you can see we are using this get pages. So we have to define all the pages over here, and it is inside these app routes dot pages, and you can see these are the pages that we're going to use. So first of all, let's go to routes.dart, and in that I'm going to create not these dummy screens but three proper login, forget password and reset password strings. So these are the strings that will be visible in the URL. If you want to change them, you can change right over here. If you do not want to use this strategy, you can use this strategy as well. So it's all up to you. So once we have these strings defined over here, we are not going to add anything in the sidebar menu, and let's go to app routes, and instead of defining these dummy values, I'm going to define actual one, which is troutes.login. So whenever this string will be used, this get page will automatically open the page for us, which will be this login screen that we are going to just create. And also let me remove this from this routes middleware, because we were testing at that time. So you can change it or comment it as you like. So let's go to app routes, and in here you can see we have to create a class. The class I will create is the login screen. And also before going to create a class, we have to call the initial route that we are going to display for now, but we are not going to keep this login screen as the initial route forever, but we'll use our authentication class that is going to detect if we want to display the login screen or the dashboard screen. So just for now, to see the design, we are going to call the initial route as login screen so that we can see the design actually. And now we are going to create our first feature, because we're going to use the folder structure as a feature first approach. which will be the model view controller structure. For that, I have to create few packages. So the first feature will be authentication, and inside this authentication, I'm going to create 3 further packages based on the model view controller. I've created one with the screens, and inside this authentication, I've created controllers, models, and screens. Screens will be views. So we have our MVC over here. So using this model, we're going to put all the design files in the screens. All the models will be here, and all the controllers will be inside. All the backend logic will be inside these controllers. Now inside these screens, I'm going to create all the screens that will go inside this authentication. So for now, I'm going to create the screen for the login only, and inside this login, I'm going to create the file now, which is login.dart. It will be a status widget, and I'm going to name it as it is that we passed previously. So first import the material.dart, and then we can use this login screen. Now in the app routes, this login screen can be imported. Import this library, remove these dummy files. Okay, now inside this login screen, we are going to override this placeholder with the template that we created in the previous tutorial, which is t-site template. And using that template, you can see we have a property which is use layout, which means the header and the sidebar, we do not want to use that, so we'll pass it as a false. And then we have to provide our desktop, mobile, and tablet layouts. So I'm going to create one for the desktop because it will be same for the tablet. So I'm not going to create another design or a separate design for the tablet. And then I'm going to create a design for the mobile. So to create these designs, I've created a folder which is responsive underscore screens because we cannot add spaces. And this is the same strategy that we are going to implement throughout in other screens. So we will have the responsive screens folder, and the other one will be the widgets folder. So let's see, we have created 2 files. The first one is login screen, and then we have a desktop tablet. This means that it will remind me that this is not only for the desktop but also for the tablet, because I'm just going to use the same design for the desktop and tablet. You can name it anything, but it will be login screen desktop tablet, and second one is login screen mobile, just to remember the differences. And now we can define these desktop and mobile screens which are completely empty: login screen desktop tablet and login screen mobile. So these are currently an empty widgets, or the empty stateless widgets that we yet have to design. Now what this site layout is going to do, it is going to receive this desktop and tablet. You can see the tablet is null in this case, and if it is null, it is going to pick the design of this desktop, right? And if we are going to use the layout, then it will use this tablet layout. Because we do not want to use the layout, then automatically it will trigger this else statement, and again tablet is null, and again the tablet is null, and because it is null, we are going to use this desktop. So whatever is inside this desktop will be displayed as it is without adding any further layouts. So now let's design this desktop tablet and also run our application. So let's remove this, and first thing, because we already have the scaffold, so we do not need to use the scaffold again. If you want to use it, you can use it as well, but I'm going to start it with the center because we have to put all the design in the center. And I'm going to give the specific size using sized box, width 550, and the vertical will not be a specific height because in some screens we might have to scroll a bit. So as a child, I'm going to go for the single child scroll view. Now inside the scroll view, we can design our container, the white container that we are using. First go for the padding. Okay, also you can see our application is running, and currently we are pointing towards the login screen with the placeholder in front of us, and we cannot see anything. So let's keep going with the design. And inside the padding, I have added the t spacing style dot padding with app bar height. This is simply a constant variable which is using again edge insects dot only. Top has the different space, and then we have different left, bottom, and right. So that's why I added all these things over here. So app bar height is 56.0 defined in the sizes.dart, which is already defined in the utils constants, and all the sizes are defined over here, which is 56, but the default space that we are using is 24. So you do not need to define these things separately, but just for the clean code, I have added these t spacing style over here. After adding padding, we have to add a background color and a border radius. So that's for that way I'm going to use the box decoration. So border radius will be circular. So I'm going to use the circular for card radius large. Again, it is inside the t sizes, and the size we are going to use is 16.0 for the radius. And as a background color, we have a property of color, and simply I'm going to call the white color, which is inside this t colors, again in the utilities constants, and colors.dart. Inside you can see we have some neutral shades, and at the top we have a bunch of other options. The main one is primary that we're going to mostly use as a highlighter in our application. Okay, so we are almost done with the design. Now outside this decoration, we can add child property. In that child, we can add a column because we have to place all the elements in vertical order. We first have to create this design, and after that we will start creating reusable widgets. And at the end, you will be able to see that how efficiently we designed everything. So first thing, I am going to create a header with the logo, title, and subtitle. I'm going to create the size box at first for this header with the double dot infinity so that it can take all the available space of 550 that is defined over here. Then as a child, again, I'm going to create a column for this specific header. And as a children, we have three things: image, title, and subtitle. So as an image, I have created image widget or the simple image widget with the width and height as 100. Image is in the asset image, and from where we're getting the image in the T images. We have already defined the T images as the dark app logo image, which is inside the assets. If we scroll at the assets, and in the logos, you can see we have two images over here, and we're going to add all these URLs in the T images so that our code should be very neat and clean. And where this file is located, again in the utilities constants, you can see the image strings. All the image strings are defined over here, and same way all the text strings are defined over here. And down below you can see we have a login title, login subtitle, and we're going to use these two things. After adding the image, we added a size box with the height to add some space, which is again T sizes with a space between items, which is 32.0. And after that we have text with the text from login title. You can see I just have to call ttext then name of this login title, because these all variables are static. So by that we can simply call the class name and then we can call these variables. We do not have to create instance of that specific class. Style will be the headline medium, again a small space, small means 8.0, and then again a title with the style of body medium, so it's a subtitle. So we're done with the header so far. Before creating a form, let's save the code. And you can see we are inside the center of the screen, and we have a nice white background with a rounded radius. We have image in the center, we have title and subtitle text. So now inside this column we can use the cross-axis alignment and make it start. Let's save it, and now you can see design is aligned on the left side. So done with the header, let's move to the form, and we're going to use the widget of form. And in that form widget, the first thing that I'm going to use is the padding widget. Add the padding to the vertical spaces from top to just under the header, and after at the bottom. So for symmetric vertical, and the space will be space between sections. This is the space is 32.0. We are going to use mostly the default space to add space around the screens. Then we have space between items, which are similar designs, and for different sections we are going to add a large space which is 32.0. Then add a child as column so that we can add our form in vertical direction. First thing is email, and for that we have to create text form field, and we also have to remove the constant from the top. So first create a decoration, input decoration, and as a prefix icon I'm going to use icons. So let me first remove this. So I'm going to add these icons x library dot direct write. So this is the library package we already added in the pubspec.yaml file. In the icons you can see we have icons x. So this is the package that we are using for the icons. After the prefix icon, the label text that I'm going to use from the ttext.email. So it is just going to say the email. You can directly write these text as well. After that, we're going to use the size box to add a space between text fields. So this is the space between input field, which is 16.0. Again, I'm going to copy this for the password. We have changed the label text to password, prefix icon to password check, and also added a new icon which is a suffix icon, which will be displayed on the right side of the text field, which will be icon button, so that we can press that icon later on so that we can toggle password visibility. Currently the icon is I slash. Again, after this text field I'm going to add the space, but not the complete space, but divided with the 2. Now we can add remember me and forget password button. For that we are going to use the row. You can use a simple checkbox or checkbox list style that is going to take the complete space, but I'm going to create my own checkbox with a row, and as a children we're going to add two things. The first one will be checkbox itself, and because it should not take all the space, so main axis size should be minimum, and scroll it a bit up, and the first thing will be a simple checkbox. Value will be, let's say, true, and on change will receive a value, change value, and later on we will do with something with that value. And next we want to display a text. Again, I am going to use ttext dot remember me. And now after this row, as a same row, I'm going to create the forget password. The first element will be remember me in the same row, and the second element will be forget password. For that, I'm going to use the text button. You can use any other design if you like. Currently, on press is not going to do anything. And as a child, we're going to use the text ttext dot forget password. And inside this row, because we want to place this item on the left side and the forget password button on the right side, so for that we have to add main axis alignment to space between, so these two can place apart from each other. And on the right and left side, again add a space between sections using size box. And now I'm going to create the sign in button. To make the sign in button full width, I'm going to use the box with the width as infinity so that it can take all the space. And then as a child, we are going to use elevated button. On press is currently null, and child will be text ttext.sign in. And we are pretty much done with the design. Let's save it. And you can see we have two text fields. We have title, subtitle, image. Then we have, currently they are not toggleable. Later on it will be. We have forget password, remember me, and sign in button. But if you see in the mobile, we have no design. This is the tablet mode, and then this one is the desktop mode. They both are same, but in the mobile, definitely we do not have anything yet created. So to create everything from scratch, that's not recommended. So now it's time to create the reusable widgets. So let's jump towards the screen.login. The first folder was the responsive screens, and the second folder that I already told will be the widgets folder. And in that we're going to place all the widgets related to this specific screen. Now to create a status widgets in the form, right click on it and go to refactor, click on extract flutter widget, name this as login form. I've created a T login form, and same way I'm going to change this header with a T header, and inside the widgets I've created the login form and login header and pasted all that code over here. Now you see we are done with this designing, but at the top we can also create this center widget till this decoration. If you see the design, we can easily use this white background and also all this thing in the center for the tablet and desktop. And on top of this container we can build whatever we want. So we can call this a center layout widget or login widget or whatever the name you want to suggest or you want to use it. For that we can go to common widgets in the layouts, and in the templates we can create a new file. I have added one with the login template and name it login template, and inside I pasted all the code that we just created. And as a child, instead of pasting the child as hard code, I received the child from wherever this login template will be called. As you can see, it is required, so we must have to pass a child, and that child will be placed over here as the rest of the design. So now let's go to this desktop. We just have to cut this column and paste it as a child. We do not need this center anymore. Instead we can call T login template, and as a child we can pass our column, replace the constant, and that's it. Now we can save the code, and in the design you can see for the tablets or for the desktops it is working very much fine, but not for the mobile designs. And in here, to see if it can be scrolled or not, you can see the design and we can scroll it easily if the scrolling is required. Okay, now that was for the login desktop, but for the login mobile we are not going to put everything in the center. If you want to still keep things in the center, just have to use the T login template, but instead I'm going to create a scaffold. Scaffold is just to demonstrate you that you can use a scaffold as well. And as a body we're going to use the single child scroll view so that our design can be scrollable. As a child we can add padding from all the sides, which will be this default space. And then again, as a child we're going to use the column, and in the column definitely we're going to do the same. We need this header and form, the widgets that we already created, import the files. Sorry, we have not yet added a children property, and by this way we can add a constant, Control Alt L, and that's it. Now let's save the code. You can see we are not using anything to center our design inside the mobile screen. And now when we are going to enter into mobile, and you can see it is taking the complete space and everything is working fine. And still, if mobile is in some, let's say, vertical direction or some other direction, our design is scrollable, and in large devices it is in the center. So this is how we are going to work on these things. So let me walk you through again. For this tutorial, we first have to go to the routes. In the routes, we're going to define the string that we want to be displayed in the URL, and using this string, whenever we will be redirected to from one screen to another screen, using get.toNamed, we're going to pass this string into get.toNamed, and in the app routes we have to define the string, so that whenever this string will be called, which screen we want this login screen to be appeared. And same way we will declare all the pages as we go along in the routes. Then we have to create the design inside the features. Inside the current feature is authentication. Later on we will create other shop feature, media feature, and other features. And now inside this authentication we have model, view, and controller approach. And using this approach we are going to design this in the screens. The current screen is the login screen. Next we will have the reset password and forget password screens as well. And in each screen we are going to use this same approach. The first one will be the main screen, which will be login.dart, and it is going to keep the site template, which requires desktop, tablet, and mobile widgets for the screens that we want to display on tablet, mobile, or on desktop, and either we want to use the layout or not. And based on that, this widget for the desktop layout, tablet, and mobile layout will automatically decide or deal with the app bar or with the sidebar, where it should be visible or not. And also this responsive widget will be taken care of how to hide the things or how to display it, or you can say when to display it on desktop, tablet, and mobile. So we do not have to be worried about these things. We just have to create this login.dart, which is going to call this site template, and we have to pass the desktop and mobile widgets over here. If you see the desktop widget, it is going to contain its own design. All the reusable widgets for mobile, tablet, and desktop will go inside this widgets. Responsive screens will be over here. All the widgets will be over here. So we will only create widgets once, paste those widgets over here, so that all these responsive screens can easily share those widgets between them, or we only have to work in these widgets once. Like you can see, we have a login form, so we just have to modify this form. It will be automatically modified in the mobile, tablet, and desktop. So this is how we are going to move along with the next tutorials. If you have any confusion, or if you have any question in your mind, please feel free to ask me down below in the comments. So once again, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the upcoming tutorials, and definitely I'm going to launch some other large projects like food delivery application, which will contain all the features like delivery app, user management, retail management app, admin panel, website. So there will be a lot of things coming soon. So stay tuned, and once again, thank you for watching. Take care.